All right, hello, welcome back to Unqualified Analysis as I just scratch my head as we start this thing up. I'm professional as hell, ladies and gentlemen. Either way, we have got another episode of off-season content for you. A lot of stuff going on. There's fucking nothing happening right now. I really broke the curse. My brain is all a jumble right now, coming off of work time because, your boy has to pay the bills somehow. The brain is a jumble. I didn't even remember that I had to wake up an hour early until it was already too late to go to bed early last night. So, running on a little lack of sleep here. We got off-season content for you. Ain't nothing going on here in the off-season. I went to a bar last night, and I was so desperate to watch any sort of meaningful sports. I turned on hockey. And boys and girls, I enjoy hockey, okay? It's an entertaining sport. If I'm watching hockey, though, the situation is dire. There is not a whole lot going on. And if I'm at the bar gulping down brewskis and watching hockey, you know we're in the off season. You know it's late February. We haven't quite gotten into the meat of the college basketball postseason yet. Which, hey, one Mississippi State team has looked good here over the last month or so. The other one is the men's team. It is baseball season. It's here. It's right here, folks. We're at baseball season now. What even is like football, basketball? No. We're a baseball school. That's actually kind of correct. We're one of the better baseball programs in the country. And some of my more cherished memories from my college career in the spring semesters is going to baseball games and just acting a fool, of course, doing college student things as one does, showing up with a good buzz going, watching some baseball, shooting the shit with the boys. Boy, do I miss, just regular weekdays after class at Dudy Noble Field, man. It's an immaculate atmosphere, folks. What more can I say? I'm just kind of talking in circles, though, man. We have got some headlines, and then we are turning back the clock to early May. I believe it was May 9th when the episode came out of 2023. 9 months ago. Our podcast baby has just been born already. It's a beautiful baby podcast. Don't know where I was going with that, but we're taking a little time capsule out here, going back to the recklessly early predictions that I made after the draft last season, once the rosters were fully kind of, fleshed out, meshed together in a way that made a lot of sense and was basically the final that would be there. Some of those guys got cut, but the final guys that were going to be on the team were already signed for the most part, with a couple moves here and there that didn't ultimately mean a whole great deal when it was all said and done. We're going to be going back, looking at the recklessly early predictions after we get the headlines. So without further talking in circles, reminiscing about the good old days in college in Starkville, Mississippi, at Mississippi State. Boy, best times of my life. Anyways, we are going to get into these headlines real quick. I am going to sip on some coffee here. And by sip, you already know I mean gulp down. I don't sip a whole lot of stuff, quite frankly. Not patient enough. So here we go. Boy, is that good sauce right there. That is good sauce. And I have the palate of a troglodyte. So by good sauce, I mean that is edible coffee right there. I'll tell you what, you can certainly drink it. And it tastes like coffee. Anyways, let's get into some headlines here. First and foremost, I think I haven't really made a specific announcement on this, but I don't want to use the Alex Jones term because that could get me in trouble later down the line. I'm not very smart, folks. I'm not very smart here. Not to use any 90s words, but your boy is kind of stupid, a little bit forgetful at times. So, the beginning of every episode, usually when I'm editing these things, I think as I'm editing the episode, God damn it, I forgot this insert thing here. And never bring it up again. It's already passed. We're already done with it. I have resolved myself to put those things in one Things I Missed segment before I actually head into the episode itself. Over the past week, didn't do too bad, actually. I actually remembered a lot of stuff. Good Super Bowl episode, boys and girls. Good Super Bowl episode. But yeah, only thing I really missed last week, your boy finished the season 57% on the bets, the picks that I put out every week of the football season. If you're keeping track at home, we made money, people. If you followed along with my picks to the T, I'm talking to you made money this last football season. So coming off of a losing season where I imposed some stupid standards upon myself as to what I could bet, the pick pentathlon is dead. I'm not doing an over and under, a favorite and underdog, Thursday night pick, yada, yada, yada. No. This season, went in there, got the best picks I felt about, picks I felt best about. Words are hard to come by today. And you know what? We picked those teams that I felt best about. We picked those over-unders that I felt best about, and we came out profitable. So some could say, I'm not saying it. Other people could say, I'm the next Billy Walters. Some people could say these things. Again, I'm not saying these things at all. That would be incredibly cocky to say that I am Billy Walters, but hey, some people could be saying that. Just based on the record of one season. That's where we're at right now. So, good season there. I'm currently just treading water in the NBA. I'm not putting out any of those picks. I don't feel good enough about those picks to put other people's hard-earned dollars on. Not like football season. I don't know basketball like I know football. I'm just betting almost solely off of trends in the NBA and what little I do know about the teams by listening to JJ Redick's podcast, Old Man into the Three. Betting. As long as I'm not losing money, I'm feeling good about betting. And that's the moral of the story. If you're losing money hand over fist, just stop. Just stop. Find something else. I don't know, start smoking cigarettes. Get the buzz going somehow. Don't do that, kids. If you're over 18, start smoking cigarettes. That's the main thing. That's the main moral of the story. If you're feeling like you're not winning any bets, take all that money that you were going to put into bets and just start hacking butts, dude. I'm just full of good advice today. Take that one straight to the bank. Anyways, let's get into the actual headline, shall we? Because we got a couple things to talk about. Kind of longer than I thought it would be, honestly. But it's all good. It's all good. Let's just get into it straight up. I've thought about this really over the last couple of weeks, but I'm going to do a little bit of Homer segment right now. Obviously, I'm a Vikings fan, die-hard Vikings fan. Really, them and Mississippi State. Really mostly football at Mississippi State. Sorry to the other sports. I like the other sports. I follow the other sports. I'm really the biggest fan of Mississippi State football here. It's like Mississippi State football, Vikings. Unfortunately, sorry, Mississippi State football. Vikings are way up here on my list of cares. I would give up a appendage of my body, unspecified to this point, for the Vikings to win a Super Bowl. That's just how dyed in the wool I am. So we're doing a little Homer segment here, real quick. And I've thought about this over the last couple weeks as we've been kind of hearing out of Kirk Cousins' camp. Well, not directly out of Kirk Cousins' camp, but you're hearing rumblings. We're in contract negotiation season, so Kirk Cousins' camp is putting out that hey, he's going to seek another fully guaranteed contract at market value for the way he's played, which would be over $40 million. So you're talking probably multi-years at 40. We'll just call it $41 million a year, 41 and a half, something like that. It'll probably, if he gets what he wants, come in somewhere around there. And the Vikings are putting out that they are probably not really willing and amenable to give him a fully guaranteed deal. So we're at a little bit of a situation where Kirk Cousins is asking, and rightfully he should. His agent Mike McCartney, absolute assassin at the negotiating table in the past, and has made Kirk Cousins, hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars in his career. So good on him. I did not expect for them to be seeking this kind of money with Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles injury. Maybe the market will dictate otherwise. There are some QB needy teams out there that are going to make a run at him. And obviously, can't franchise tag him. He already did his time with Washington, got franchise tagged all the times that you could be franchise tagged, and now he literally can't be franchise tagged anymore. Perks of being a quarterback and not getting hit a whole lot, I suppose. But I did not expect him to be asking for this much money. And honestly, if Kirk Cousins is going to be earning $40 million a year, I think it's time to move on, quite frankly. I love Kirk Cousins, man. I have really come around on him. I think, obviously, early on when he was with Mike Zimmer in the previous regime in Minnesota, he was exactly who you expected him to be. He'd have some good games here and there. He'd get a lot of garbage time yardage, but when you really needed him in the clutch, he would check down. That last part is still kind of true with the limited experience in the postseason that we had with him. Final play of the 2022-2023 season was him checking the ball down on 4th and 8, 5 yards short of the line to game to T.J. Hockenson. So credit where credit is due. He did throw it to a really good player, which was part of the reason why I loved T.J. Hockenson pickup when we got him from the Lions. However, as he's gotten into Kevin O'Connell's system, and you saw it before he went down, he was putting up MVP numbers. Hell, if he stayed healthy, there's a good chance that the Vikings go 11-6, 12-5. Kirk Cousins has put up the best numbers in the entire league, and he is most likely the MVP. The pace that he was on, he was going to lead the league in passing yards, probably lead the league or be top 5 at the very worst in passing touchdowns. Probably would be right up there with Josh Allen when it was all said and done if he continued on that pace. We're talking about a possible MVP caliber type of guy based on what he did last season. And I love Kirk Cousins. I love him to death. At this point, though, we have so many holes in the roster right now. And I mean, credit to the coaching staff. They did a hell of a job last season working around that. I mean, couldn't hardly run the ball to save our lives. Got a little bit of stuff going with Ty Chandler at the end of the season, but I think we learned that probably need a little bit more explosion out of the backfield. Maybe continue to bolster the interior of the offensive line. A tale as old as time in Minnesota if you've been around for long enough. But I mean, yeah, you got that going on. Receivers, don't worry about that. We're perfectly fine on that front. Just pay Justin Jefferson his goddamn money. Don't fuck around with this. Pay that man his money, but I digress on that front. Interior of the offensive line, defensive line, linebackers, we could use some more bodies in there. The secondary kind of got, covered up a little bit by the sheer brilliance of what Brian Flores did with the scheme last year and the innovations he was able to create. But it was really scheming around a lack of talent on the outside. I mean, outside of Byron Murphy, Mekhi Blackman's a good young player. Got him in the 3rd round out of USC of all places, which you wouldn't necessarily expect for a quality defensive back. But he's a really good player. Got him in the draft last year. Him and Byron Murphy, though, that's pretty much all we're looking at there on the outside. Caleb Evans is solid, but seems to have some sort of nick, cut, whatever you want to call it. Just not someone that you can count on to be healthy for every game of the season. We're not very deep on the outside. We need guys back there. Harrison Smith, probably. I mean, there's a chance that we cut him this offseason. He's got a giant cap hit right now, and he's up there in age. There's a good chance we cut him this offseason. Good thing outside of him, we got really good players, though. Cam Bynum's played very, very well. Josh Metellus is, what a revelation Josh Metellus has been. And he's kind of the straw that stirs the drink on the defensive side. Kind of plays like a Jamal Adams type of role where he's blitzing a whole lot. Really, Brian Flores just uses him all over the field. I think he lined up at all 11 positions on defense at one point or another last season. Just a crazy versatile player. Love Josh Metellus. So, got good guys on the back end, but holes all over the defense elsewise and the interior of the offensive line. If we pay Kirk Cousins $40 million, in addition to what we're going to have to pay Justin Jefferson, I would like them to pay Danielle Hunter too, because quite frankly, he's our only quality pass rusher that you can count on, down in, down out. A guy that you like to keep around, an edge defender. I would be, very okay with him being the highest paid defender on the defense right now. He's coming off of really what should have been considered a defensive player of the year caliber type of performance. Didn't get that opportunity because the Vikings were 7-10 this year. But crazy good player. You got to re-sign him. You got to re-sign Justin Jefferson. You re-sign all three of those if you include Kirk Cousins. Not a great deal of room to work with when it comes to free agency, and you're staring right down the barrel of, I have no inside sources on this. I'm just reading the tea leaves here. If we let Danielle Hunter go in free agency, which you're probably going to have to make a sacrifice somewhere along the lines if you're signing Kirk Cousins to a $40 million deal, if we end up having to let Danielle Hunter go in free agency, I'm staring right at Chicago with the most cap space in the league and in a position where they're going to be drafting Caleb Williams number 1 overall. They're entering a window to win a championship of 3 years while on Caleb Williams' rookie contract. They're going to sign Danielle Hunter, and I've heard rumblings all throughout, Twitter, not the regular Twitter people. I'm talking about reporters, people on the inside, talking about the fact that the Bears are very interested in Danielle Hunter. They will pay him top of the market money. I think we need to do it before the other team in the division does. I don't want to see Danielle Hunter twice a year on the other side. He will probably be going up against Christian Darrisaw, which is nice. I don't want to see those two going against each other unless it's in practice, though, quite frankly. Keep Danielle Hunter around. The bottom line is having Kirk Cousins around doesn't give you a great deal of flexibility, and there's no guarantee that he'll be the same as he was coming off that Achilles injury. It's the first major injury of his entire career, which is incredible to think about, but it's true. He hasn't really, I don't think he's missed a start. I think he might have missed one because of COVID or something like that, but otherwise hasn't missed a start due to injury, I don't think. Never sustained anything major. He's been very durable, but will he continue to be that when he comes back off the Achilles? There's no guarantee. If we can get him around mid-30s sort of contract, like, a home team discount, if you will, I think it's good. I think we can keep him around for another year or two, and I would love to do that, especially if, assuming we draft a quarterback. I assume we're going to try and move up in the draft. We tried to move up for Anthony Richardson last year. I assume they're going to try and do it again. Whisperings about maybe moving up to get Drake May. We'll see how that all works out. Assuming we get a quarterback, I'd love to have Kirk Cousins there to mentor the young guy. I've been on record before saying I think Kirk Cousins is, the best bridge quarterback in the entire league right now. And I don't think that's an exaggeration. I think he would perform that admirably. I think it'd be a lot like Alex Smith in the first year with Patrick Mahomes. A guy that would not give up the starting job. A guy that's not going to embarrass you to a point where you have to put him in. I would love to have Kirk Cousins around to mentor a young quarterback, but assuming that he's at $40 million or over that, I think the game plan should be go out in free agency, get a guy like Jacoby Brissett, coming off of a backup role, not going to command a super high price just by not seeing the field a whole lot last year. You can probably get him on the high end, $20 million a year, something like that, maybe 25, which is below the market value for a starting. It's like a low-end starting quarterback pretty much if you get him on that deal. He's maybe I'd say probably the best backup in the league. I was saying the Jets should have traded for him last year if they really wanted to make a playoff run. And hell, I think if Jacoby Brissett is at quarterback for the New York Jets, I think the New York Jets have a really good opportunity to make the playoffs, in fact. So I would love to have Jacoby Brissett in town. I think he is the best value proposition equivalent to what you get with Kirk Cousins, even a little bit more of a gunslinger than Kirk Cousins. He'll push the ball down the field a little bit more, lead some late drives. Kirk Cousins did that as well. But again, reasonable facsimile for a lesser price. Got a lot more flexibility with that extra $15 million of cap space. Assuming it's on the high end, you sign Jacoby Brissett for like $25 million, which, make no mistake about it, it would be an overpay based on what Jacoby Brissett has been making. I think he's coming off of making 8 to 10 million, I think. Maybe he was anywhere from 8 to 12 million pretty much, which is, that would be doubling his salary. That would be insane. So even on the high side of $25 million, you're saving $15 million of cap room. That is $15 million you can use to sign Justin Jefferson. You can use to re-sign Danielle Hunter and still have good QB play with a really good offensive mind in Kevin O'Connell. Still really good bridge QB in Jacoby Brissett as well. So a guy that, a young guy can learn behind, well-respected guy that you can, learn some habits from, veteran quarterback. I would be very, very okay with that. if the Vikings went away from Kirk Cousins. And then you can go out and spend some money on other areas of the team too. Maybe we can sign a defensive tackle in free agency. By God, maybe we can get an edge rusher. We'll see on that one. Sign another cornerback. I don't know what the market's looking like for cornerbacks right now, but if we can sign a mid-level guy, someone you don't have to pay a whole lot of money to, but will be a good contributor. Get some young guys to step up. Lord willing, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah has a good draft. We'll see on that one. It's been kind of hit and miss on the early running here for this GM regime. But yeah, you do all that, and then running right for the playoffs next year. You got a developmental prospect on the rise, and we're off to the races, baby. We're right in the path to continue to compete for the playoffs. And I think if you have Kirk Cousins there, you're competing for the playoffs. I don't think you're building too much for the future in a substantial way, because that salary is it's prohibitive, unfortunately. And again, if we can get Kirk Cousins for mid $30 million a year, he takes a little bit of a discount because health concerns and all that sort of stuff. Hell, even if it's on a 1-year deal, I'd be cool with that. I'd be great with that. We could get him in the building, and it would all be awesome as well. But if you're paying that exorbitant price for him, unfortunately, it might be time to move in a different direction. So, just things I've been thinking about over the last couple of weeks. Knowing me, I'll be entirely wrong. It kind of is what it is. But yeah, if you do get Jacoby Brissett, you do whatever it takes to move up and get one of the quarterbacks they want in the draft. Whether it be Drake May, whether it be Jaden Daniels, probably not going to get Caleb Williams unless you make a god-awful trade with the Chicago Bears, quite frankly. I think they're probably pretty set in that draft pick there. But especially in the division, that's simply not going to happen. But everything after 2 is probably in play. I mean, you're looking at who's it? The Commies at 2. They got a million holes in their roster. They're probably going to take a quarterback though, especially with the new regime there, new fresh start. Patriots at 3. They got about a million holes, and you could say take a new quarterback, but at this point, I don't know. I think they might be in a little bit of a Texans mode where you want to build a culture, but at the same time, there's a lot of holes to fill on that roster, especially on the offensive side of the ball. You can get by with defense for a little bit while you rebuild the offensive side of the ball. I'm not sure putting a quarterback in that situation is necessarily, the best decision in the world. So you're open at 3. I forget who is at 4. I believe that's Arizona at 4. They would certainly be willing to move back. They already have their quarterback right now. So maybe they draft Marvin Harrison Jr. right there. They could also trade back and get Malik Neighbors too if he's still there at 11. We'll see on that one. And then you got the Chargers at 5. Really, outside of number 1 and number 2, frankly, I think the Commies are in fact going to take a quarterback there. Everything from 3 to 5 is open for business. So yeah, you do what it takes to move up. You do what it takes to move up and get who you want. And yeah, that's the last I have to say on that. I've spoken entirely too long from that. Anyways, let's keep her moving. Kalen DeBoer has promoted tight end coach Nick Sheridan to offensive coordinator. Sheridan takes the place of the outgoing Ryan Grubb, who had been with Kalen DeBoer. I don't know if he goes all the way back to Fresno State. He's been with Kalen DeBoer for at least the entirety of the Washington era, and well-respected offensive coordinator. There's a reason the Seahawks hired him, obviously. But yeah, Sheridan was with DeBoer for a year at Indiana and took over play calling duties when DeBoer took the Fresno State job in 2020. Finished 59th with Indiana in 2020 and 123rd in 2021 in scoring in both of those years, respectively. So Sheridan has been on DeBoer's staff since he took the Washington job in 2022. I'm certainly less sold on this one than I was about Ryan Grubb. Obviously, Ryan Grubb's a slam dunk. I mean, he's one of the best offensive coordinators in all of college football. Again, there is a reason why the Seahawks hired him, why Mike McDonald plucked him out of the college ranks. So, obviously, anything you get after that is pretty much going to be a downgrade. Nick Sheridan, hire from within if you can, I suppose. We'll see if it works out. Obviously, it's a little bit of a last-minute hire, so I don't know. We'll see how it works out. Honestly, though, they got good talent on the offensive side of the ball, even with the guys that left. Isaiah Bond was a huge loss, obviously. Caden Proctor, big loss as well. But it's also Alabama. They've backfilled a lot. The roster probably won't be on the level of the last several years. I think you're probably looking at a 2 to 3 loss season on deck, especially with how tough the SEC schedule is now with Texas and Oklahoma entering the fold and all that sort of stuff. But still a really, really good roster, a really solid offensive head coach in Kalen DeBoer. I still think this offense is going to do well. It's just a matter of what does the play calling look like under Nick Sheridan? We're going to find out, folks. We are going to find out. And also replacing Caleb Downs on that other side of the ball. That's going to be hard. I think that's probably the biggest loss. I mean, not probably. That is the biggest loss that Alabama had with Nick Saban retiring. Caleb Downs is probably already the best safety in all of college football, and he's over at Ohio State right now. It's going to be an interesting time at Alabama. Might be a tough year, and boy, are we going to see some insane Alabama fans. It's going to be a treat to watch, folks. Pull up your popcorn. The 49ers fired Steve Wilks. Did not expect this at all. I thought he did a solid job throughout the course of the season. It's tough to, obviously, the defense didn't drop off a whole lot, but I think a lot of the drop-off had to do with losing Talanoa Hufanga. When you lose a guy that's just kind of a Swiss Army knife that just flies around, plays with his hair on fire like Hufanga does, that's obviously going to have a huge effect on your defense, and it did. There was a night and day difference when Hufanga left versus before when he was still in the lineup. That being said, this doesn't exactly surprise me. It was an up and down year for him. It got capped off by a bad second half in overtime in the Super Bowl. Also not a good game versus the Detroit Lions as well. Got almost run off the field there for 3 quarters until, Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan made some magic happen there in the fourth quarter. I can understand why the 49ers went in this direction. Also, it seems like Kyle Shanahan just kind of runs the Kyle Shanahan defense, and an older coordinator like Steve Wilks, who already has his own system, I doubt took very kindly to coming in and calling someone else's after all of his years as a defensive coordinator. So I still don't believe they've made a defensive coordinator hire there as of yet. I would expect a young guy, maybe an internal hire to take over there at defensive coordinator. So keep an eye on that. Understand why this happened, though. I think it was... I probably would have stuck with Steve Wilks, but I don't know the interpersonal dynamics there. Might have been a situation that was completely untenable. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan felt that way because he fired Steve Wilks. So that'll be one to keep an eye on. That's a marquee defensive coordinator job right there. That's a kingmaker if you play it properly. They got great talent on the defensive side, an absolutely stacked defensive line, really good secondary. Travarius Ward, legit shutdown corner. When Hufanga comes back in the fold a little bit more, you got an elite safety back there that flies around. That's a ready-made top 10, top 5 sort of defense walking in there with what you got. So really interested to see who takes over there with the 49ers going forward. Chris Jones moving on to the Chiefs Super Bowl parade, which, by the way, another shooting. That sucks. I don't know what you want me to say. I'm just sports stooge. There it is. Wish that wouldn't happen. More complicated issue than I think a lot of people like to make it, though, so I'm going to stay the hell away from it. Chris Jones told the crowd at the Chiefs Super Bowl parade, though, I ain't going nowhere, to which his agent cut them off. Agent said, quote, cut them off, bartenders, with 5 exclamation points and then too much beer emoji, which probably correct. I mean, Willie Gay, Mississippi State alum, by the way, Hail State, baby, was lying in the middle of the road in Kansas City. I mean, just drunk off his ass laughing. I mean, running down the street, shirtless, bottle of Henny in his hand, drunk off his ass, on the ground, laughing. One of the great pictures from that parade. Wishing hadn't have ended in such a sour fashion, but try to enjoy the things that are enjoyable, I suppose. Let's keep in mind, though, in relation to what Chris Jones said about him ain't going nowhere. Let's keep in mind that Bruce Brown hopped on stage at the Nuggets parade and essentially said the same exact thing, only to leave for an absolute bag in free agency to, I believe, the Indiana Pacers. However, Brett Veach, same thing I just told Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah about Justin Jefferson and Daniil Hunter for that matter. Pay that man his money. You don't want to mess around with this, man. I know you think. The Packers think the exact same thing, or they thought the exact same thing about Aaron Rodgers. Like, hey, we don't got to worry about the deep. We can kind of skimp on a lot of areas because we got that dude at quarterback. And to a certain extent, that is true. You can pay a little bit less to the wide receiver core. You can rely on really solid drafting on the defensive side of the ball, which has paid massive dividends for them. I'll tell you what, they got some really good players in the draft, including Chris Jones back in the day. What you don't want to do if you are the Kansas City Chiefs is let a star walk out the door. Not on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, you can let Tyreek Hill go because you have Patrick Mahomes, and as long as you get a reasonable facsimile of a working wide receiver core, which he did not have for much of last year and still won the Super Bowl, by the way. If you have that in place, you can still have a top 5 offense with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes doesn't play defense, man. And the one star that you have, the one guy that changes the game on the defensive side of the ball is Chris Jones. You cannot let that man walk out the door, especially not after the season he just had, the Super Bowl, the playoff run, the way he anchored the best defense that Patrick Mahomes has ever had, a young defense. I believe one of the youngest defenses in the entire league. You simply cannot let Chris Jones walk out the door. Pay that man his money. Don't mess around with this Brett Veach. You can't franchise tag him again because at that point he'd be making, $32 million? Might as well just pay him the contract at that point. You know what he is. He's young enough. He's in the prime of his career. Pay that man his money. Get him the bag. And you'll profit from it. You'll probably be right back in the Super Bowl next year. Trust me. Just bite the bullet. Pay that man his money, for God's sake. Don't care what you have to do. Just pay the man his money. So there we go, keeping it moving from there. Bears are releasing safety Eddie Jackson and offensive lineman Cody Whitehair. They are due to have roughly $85 million in cap space after this move. They will spend an incredible amount in free agency this year. I mark my words. The Bears, they had a little rebuilding year last year that got them, playing really solid down the stretch. I think Matt Eberflus started to get that defense playing really, really well down the stretch of the season, showing why he got hired as that head coach in the first place. You've built a little foundation here. You're going to have Caleb Williams coming in here on his rookie contract, number 1 overall pick, salary controlled. It's time to push every last chip you have into the center of the table and go for broke. It's time. You've built a solid enough foundation. You've got a solid defense on one side of the ball with a few holes here and there. Offensively, you've got needs. You need another receiver opposite of DJ Moore. You need continue bolstering the offensive line. Make it a really solid offensive line. You've got holes throughout the roster. Pay everyone, pretty much. Go out there, be aggressive, absolutely dominate free agency. It is time. And this is how you know I'm an objective analyst, because I'm saying this about my most hated team outside of Ole Miss. Which, little side tangent here. It's interesting. I hate the Bears, and I used to hate the Bears more than any other team in the entire world. Now I actually hate Ole Miss more. And it's crazy because I do care about the Vikings more, I would say. That's no exaggeration. I hate Ole Miss more than the Bears. Interesting little dichotomy there of my fandoms of college and the NFL. Besides the point, though, you got $85 million in cap space. You've got needs on both sides of the ball, pass rush, secondary outside of Kyler Gordon, who seems to be a really solid player, offensive line, wide receiver. Go out there, spend the money, absolutely be aggressive in the draft as well. Try to fill out the roster from there. Next year should be a year that you're pushing for the playoffs. A lot like C.J. Stroud did with the Texans this past offseason. You should be pushing for the playoffs this coming year with the roster you have in place. 7-10 last year. I expect them to kind of transform the roster and make it into something you can see. Okay, this is a roster of Caleb Williams is as advertised. Could be a playoff caliber unit. Make it happen. That's the last thing I have to say on that. Honestly, I hope you don't make it happen, but Ryan Poles, now's the time to push the chips to the center of the table. Watch out for that when free agency opens here in 3 weeks' time. The Warriors reportedly tried to make a trade for LeBron, but LeBron shot it down. No other real comments, just pretty much the only interesting thing that happened at the trade deadline. Also, yesterday, I believe it was, sometime over the weekend, LeBron James had a press conference where he said he was 50-50 on whether he wanted a retirement tour, and then followed that up by saying, I'm not really good with receiving praise. I'm not sure there is a less self-aware man in the entirety of professional sports. I mean, that's a bold-faced lie right there. You love the attention. You want a retirement tour, and for God's sake, you absolutely love adulation. You love positive praise. That's a fact. That was a downright lie he just said in front of a microphone, which is, it's not out of character for him. I'm still wondering if he's on the first page of Malcolm X's biography, if he's read, 2 or 3 pages in. Still a guy that, all-time liar, LeBron James, just lies about shit that doesn't even matter. Fun type of liar, I suppose, but a liar nonetheless. I don't know, man. That's just LeBron for you. Boy, my throat is just rattling around, getting all itchy and stuff. So we gotta gulp more coffee. Yep, lather up that esophagus real quick. Soothe the entrance to the windpipe a little bit so we can get her moving from here. Jimmy Garoppolo is being suspended 2 games for performance-enhancing substances. Seems like it was a situation where he had a prescription that he didn't get a waiver for. Did he willfully not get the waiver, or just didn't think to do it at the time? We're never going to know. But what we do know is that the suspension gets the Raiders off the hook for $11.25 million guaranteed in Jimmy G's contract for 2024. That could be voided if the Raiders decide to do so. Jimmy Garoppolo was benched once Antonio Pierce took over as the head coach. Aiden O'Connell's not a great alternative, we'll say, but seems like they are pretty well done with Jimmy G there in almost said Oakland. Las Vegas now. So yeah, that seems to be a pretty convenient little caveat there that will likely usher Jimmy G out the door. Excuse me. Itchy throat syndrome never stops. Yeah, I think this suspension probably facilitates Jimmy G's departure from, again, almost said Oakland, from Las Vegas when the offseason starts. I don't know when that is officially voided, probably like right at the start of free agency, if not like right before it. I would expect in the coming weeks, though, we are going to see Jimmy G getting dropped at some point. Add his name to the QB market. Someone desperate's going to sign him. I mean, look at how goddamn ungodly handsome he is. Somebody's going to sign him, if for no other reason than they just get face-to-face with him like, my God, you are a supermodel. We have to sign you. So, someone's probably going to sign him. We'll see who it is. Not going to be the Raiders, though. I'd be willing to bet money, and that'd be a juiced bet. That's probably like minus 250 right now that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to get cut at some point here in this offseason. So there you go. Got a couple final headlines here before we get into the recklessly early predictions revisited. Pistons forward Isaiah Stewart, who you may know as the guy in ultimately what turned into a meme video, running through about 5 different Pistons players, running like Isaiah Pacheco does in the open field. You may remember him from those types of memes. Trying to fight LeBron James. I'm sure LeBron had it coming. Who's to say? Isaiah Stewart, though, was arrested for a fight with Suns forward Drew Eubanks in the tunnel before a game last week. It would appear, and I'm just going out on a limb here, it would appear that old Drew has not heard the snitches stitches corollary before. All I know is the cops ask you when an assault like this happens, they ask the victim, do you want to press charges? And if you say no, it's over and done with there. So I can only assume, and this is just me taking a wild stab at it, that Drew was asked by the police, would you like to press charges on Isaiah Stewart for this altercation we had? And he said, absolutely. He tried to kill me. And I can't respect that. I can't respect that, quite frankly. Unless you sustained, like, serious damage, like you got a broken orbital bone or something, you're in the hospital, you got, like, major injuries, bills, and all that sort of stuff. I'm talking about a real assault. I do not respect you going to the police. That's just a fight, baby. This is what happened. I mean, Isaiah Stewart has obviously got a legendarily short fuse, probably needs to seek some anger management and whatnot. Might help his life out, see what the anger is stemming from over there. My goodness. I'm going to die before the end of this thing. It's just a fight, though. I mean, maybe he blindsided you. Maybe he came up on you, gave you a quick yakum while you weren't looking. I don't know, man. If you didn't sustain serious injury, you should not be pressing charges in my mind. So, snitches, stitches, baby. I don't advocate for violence. I would, however, understand with the history of Isaiah Stewart, if he were to hang on to that. I need to look up, when is the next Pistons versus Suns matchup here? Let's say a quick Google Scarami here, if that's even a word. I know it isn't. I absolutely know it's not. Pistons, Suns, next game. Don't allow. You don't need my location for that. Okay. This is just completely meaningless. This is meaningless at this point. I don't know what the hell or what the fudge any of this is. Why has God forsaken me? That's one question I have at this very moment. They don't play Phoenix again this year. What a pity. What an absolute pity. A travesty, a crime against humanity. I'm seeking reparations. I'm seeking reparations for this, man. This is bullshit. This is absolute bullshit. I absolutely need a Pistons versus Suns matchup again, just so I can see what the hell Isaiah Stewart does. And I hope for Drew Eubanks' safety. I don't want the man to get hurt. I certainly don't want that. But at the same time, I do also want to see what Isaiah Stewart does. So, we'll have to, save that in the time capsule. I'm sure it seems like old Isaiah Stewart is a guy that has a long memory, if you will. So, whenever they match up next, we'll have to see. I'm sure I'll be really locked in on where Drew Eubanks and Isaiah Stewart go in free agency at some point. That's me locked into rotational players and how they decide to take their free agency, obviously. Also, EA officially put out a teaser trailer for the new NCAA football game. Didn't show a damn thing. All they showed was a guy sewing jerseys in the middle of a football field. EA, I hate that company, and we'll get to that here in just a second. Credit where credit is due, though. Awesome commercial. It got the juices flowing, man. I'm probably gonna buy the shit out of that game. Probably gonna end up buying the hell out of that game. I don't know. sorry, I got distracted for a second. Alabama made a hire, linebackers coach. It is what it is. You can follow position coach hirings if you want. We only have a limited amount of time on this podcast before it becomes unlistenable, so I can't be adding that into the headlines here. But damn it, wake up, phone! I'm not done with you yet. What's going on? What are you doing? All right, we're good. So yeah, cautiously optimistic about it. Really hope it's good, especially with how classic the NCAA 14 video game is. People still play it. That's how good of a game it is. However, I would also like to point out the track record of EA as a company. Just a word of warning not to get your hopes up too high on the news of this week. Just putting it out there. Every single product that EA has put out there has ultimately, unless it's even a story-driven game like the Star Wars Jedi series with I forget the guy's name, red-haired kid from Shameless. Again, don't remember his name. He's the Jedi protagonist in the EA Jedi Star Wars game. It's solid. I'd say solid 7 out of 10. But it's, spent good money on the graphics. Outside of that, just kind of a cookie cutter storyline, Disney-fied storyline, we'll call it that. And then you look at the Star Wars Battlefront series, the most recent multiplayer game that they put out there. Not awesome. Basically just milked for micro purchases. Same thing with Madden. I think 2K might have FIFA, so it's a little bit... actually, I think EA might have FIFA, but all those things, just look at what EA does. They make it look like a game that you can succeed at no matter what, and then they put a million micro purchases in there that basically ruin the game. So I would anticipate a healthy dosing of micro purchases in this game. I would imagine it's going to play fairly similarly to Madden. The real differentiator is how are you going to handle the franchise mode, basically, like the dynasty mode, like where you can step into a program, build it up from scratch, win 8 national titles at Akron, do all those sorts of things. How are you going to approach that experience? Because I think the dynasty mode is going to make or break the success of the video game and how good it is. I'm interested to see how they handle NIL, how they handle those sorts of things, how they handle the transfer portal, because you have to include it in there. Otherwise, it's not really a true to reality sort of game. How do they make the experience in Dynasty mode? If they get a good Dynasty mode in there and they nail that, like all the recruiting stuff, basically why people loved NCAA 2014 was all of those sorts of things. If you can nail that experience, I think this could be a really good game in spite of all the micro purchases that I know are going to be just shoehorned into our faces at every given opportunity. If you don't make it a complete grind fest without micro purchases, which is also a feature of EA games, you can technically get to these certain milestones where you can unlock things, but it's going to take you, I don't know, roughly 100 hours of gameplay to grind out the XP to get there. Or you could just make a quick, simple micro purchase of, $10 and get it right now. That's the EA strategy. If you don't know EA as a company, that what I just described there fits them to a T. If we don't get a whole lot of that and we get a good Dynasty mode, I think this game's going to be an absolute banger. I do not trust EA though, so I'll just put that out there. Just look at Madden over the last several years and how people have not loved that game but keep buying it because it's like Call of Duty. It's the new one comes out, you buy it, you don't really think about it. So yeah, cautious optimism. That's where we're at. Cautious optimism with EA and the NCAA football game coming up here this summer. Forgot to mention that they announced not a release date, a release time frame sometime in the summer. They're going to release this game probably before the upcoming college football season, I would imagine. So looking forward to that. That's going to be awesome. Hopefully, can't wait. I'm not even taking my own advice and tempering my expectations. So Yeah, I hope it's good. I really hope it's good. Also, and this is my final headline. Not really a headline, just a hilarious story, pretty much. I can't remember who the college baseball player is. There's a college baseball player right now that in 9 at-bats has been hit with a pitch 8 times. And I don't know if... I'm not really huge into baseball, obviously. It's a good pastime in the summer. It's great for when you're bored out of your fucking skull and you have nothing to do. You just pop that on the TV and you just look at your phone with good background noise. Every once in a while you look up, you see a fun play. You get some good banter from the announcers. Again, it's America's pastime, baby. We're just passing time. We're just getting through this right now. But 8 hit by pitches in 9 at bats is insane. That is absolutely insane. I mean, there are guys that on the high end get hit with, like, I don't know, 15, 20 pitches in a season. Like, people don't get hit with a pitch that much. And especially in college baseball, to have him hit 8 times in 9 appearances at the plate is an incredible, astonishing rate. And if this keeps up, he's going to absolutely shatter the on-base percentage record in college baseball. So, hand up. I'm kind of a bad person. I'm a little bit of a crazy person. I'm a little bit of a sadist. And I'll admit that before I say this. Again, kind of a bad person. However, I do kind of hope he keeps getting hit with pitches. Not in the head, not in the elbow, not in the knee. Anything that could be hurt. Hope he doesn't get hit there. Just nice meaty arm there. You just get hit right in the upper arm. Ow, it hurts a lot. You really gotta shake that thing out on the way down the base path, but nothing too bad. Maybe you get like a hit in the side here. Again, uncomfortable, hurts, but doesn't hurt you too bad. Doesn't really injure you. I hope he continues to get hit, man. And you know what? I hope he has all the health in the world, but at this point, I just want to see how many times it can happen in a season. Could we see someone get hit with a pitch 100 times in a season? That's what we're looking at right now. Right now with the pace he's on, he would absolutely shatter that. I mean, 8 hit by pitches in 9 at-bats. Wild. Absolutely wild stuff over there with that kid whose name escapes me. It just popped in my head and I had to talk about it because it's astonishing. It's astonishing. And I am a bad person, but I want to see it keep happening. I want to see how many times it can happen in a season. Again, healthy. Do not throw at that boy's head. I don't want to see any brain damage or anything like that. But if you could just plunk him right on the shoulder right here in the meat of the arm about 100 more times, I would be endlessly entertained. I might watch those games, man. It could be an event every time he comes up to the plate, man. Like, oh, it's going to happen? Is it going to happen again? Oh, it happened again. We're just having fun here, folks. We're just having a good time. That's what this thing is all about. Anyways, we're what? A little under an hour into this episode. Let's, on the way out the door here, hit these recklessly early predictions from last offseason. And got an array of predictions, all of them, or most of them, entirely wrong. So bad. Just terrible, in fact. Just a steaming pile of garbage from top to bottom. But let's go down the list. First off, we'll start with the division winners. Had Baltimore. Got that. Awesome. Got that overwhelmingly good. Feel good about that one. AFC South. Jacksonville Jaguars. That's a swing and a miss high and outside. And I'd put that down to coaching. It's not my fault. I was right. The coaches screwed this up, man. They absolutely are the ones that screwed it up. So Jacksonville finished like 8-9, 7-10. I can't remember which one it was on the season. They don't make the postseason. C.J. Stroud and the upstart Houston Texans do make the postseason out of the AFC South. And all the while, I mean, Indy is much better than we could have ever expected out of that division. So, yeah, F that one up. I don't know why I censored myself there, but fuck that one up. Not a good pick there for the AFC South. And somehow it gets even worse. In the AFC East, I had the New York Jets. In my defense, if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, I think this is not a terrible prediction. I mean, sure, the Bills did go 11-6, but I think they had another head-to-head with the Jets there later in the season. If Aaron Rodgers is there and you have like a semblance of good QB play with the weapons they have on the outside, because they do have good weapons there. It's not like they have bad wide receiver play. A really good up-and-coming wide receiver in Garrett Wilson. Al Lazard is serviceable, at least with Aaron Rodgers there. Would have had good chemistry between the two. I forget, honestly, outside. They have good receivers, though. Trust me. They're a good group, damn it. Trust me, God damn it. If Aaron Rodgers was there, I think they would have made the playoffs. Maybe they wouldn't win the division, but it would have been, a less embarrassing pick. As it is, the New York Jets are terrible. They were so awful this season. One of the saddest teams in all of the land last season, with a terrible offensive line. And, maybe they can fix that with a top pick this year. Hey, maybe Olu Fashanu is in the offing there with the New York Jets. We'll see. Might not be there when they're picking. I think they're in the top 10. I can't remember exactly where, though. So, yeah, bad pick there. And then AFC West round this thing out, absolutely nailed. Kansas City Chiefs. Never again will I pick against the Kansas City Chiefs to win that division. Until someone comes in there and absolutely runs the Chiefs out of the stadium, I'm not going to do it. I have resolved myself to never pick against the Kansas City Chiefs again, quite frankly. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I was rewarded for it this time, baby. The Kansas City Chiefs, AFC West champions, Super Bowl champions even, but we'll get to that in just a second. I was, honestly, the only one I got really dead on was the Super Bowl. Almost. Into the NFC. NFC North, got the Detroit Lions. Nailed that one. NFC South, Atlanta Falcons. If we're going off the talent roster, I still think I made the right call. Again, I'm not the one that messed this up. It's Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith messed this up, and it pains me to say it, because I really do think Arthur Smith is a solid coach. Boy, did he have a terrible coaching season this last year. I mean, just fell off a cliff from what he was in previous years there in Atlanta. I felt really good about him coming into the year. I thought this would be a year where, hey, if you get quality quarterback play out of Desmond Ridder, you could do some things. Didn't end up getting that. They got terrible quarterback play no matter who was in the game, ultimately. But the Atlanta Falcons, they were right in it to the end. Give them that. They were right in it till the very end. They just kind of stunk, and they did not win the NFC South. NFC East got the Philadelphia Eagles. Not cha-ching. They got the wild card, had to travel to Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was the Dallas Cowboys that won the NFC East. And by the way, hand up, again, admitted this before, but was wrong about Mike McCarthy. He did a really good job running the offense this last year. So, got that one wrong. And again, looks like we're going 50-50 this year. Got the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC West. Got that one with ease. So, 4 of the 8 division winners predicted that. We're good. We're doing great overall. I mean, great is a little bit of an overstatement. 50% is an F in pretty much every, every classroom in the United States at this point. But, you know what? 50-50, not bad for an unpredictable sport like football. Number 1 overall pick, I had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I was so incredibly wrong on that that they made the playoffs. They won the NFC South. Not only did they make the playoffs, they won a playoff game. So yeah, I'm eating all sorts of crow on that one. I thought Todd Bowles was much worse as a head coach than he ended up being. I thought Baker Mayfield was much worse as a quarterback than he ended up being this year. And as a result, they had a really solid season. Because I picked that number 1 overall pick knowing that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers didn't have a terrible roster. It wasn't top of the league, obviously, but didn't have a terrible roster. I just didn't trust the head coach, didn't trust the quarterback. And honestly, both of those guys pulled through this season. So, saw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers much better than the number 1 overall pick like I expected. It's the Chicago Bears via the Carolina Panthers that ended up being the number 1 overall pick, which, by the way, going to go down as one of the worst trades of all time for the Carolina Panthers, especially if Bryce Young doesn't pan out. Just a god-awful trade. I mean, you trade up to number 1 year just to earn the number 1 overall pick the very next season. Boy, is it an embarrassment just an embarrassment of football, what's going on with the Carolina Panthers right now. So, God bless you if you're the Panthers fan. I would have walked away a while ago at this point. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I had the aforementioned Bryce Young, and I said Bijan Robinson will get either first or second, though. I don't believe he got either. I believe it was Puka Nacua of the Los Angeles Rams who got second this year, and C.J. Stroud that got first. You know, knew it was going to be one of those quarterbacks, whether it be Stroud or Bryce Young. I thought Bryce Young was in the better situation. Shows how much I know. I'm a fucking idiot, man. I'll tell you what. I'm stupid. I'm finding that out as I go along here. I thought that was probably the one I was surest of overall was Bryce Young being the Rookie of the Year, and he was terrible. He was god awful this year. No way around it. So yeah, got that one wrong. Defensive Rookie of the Year, I said Kalijah Kancey, the defensive tackle that the Bucs took. I said the team around him is going to absolutely stink, but I think he's going to put up some big pass rush numbers. And by the way, wrong about the first part, was right about the second part. I mean, Kalijah Kancey was an absolute nightmare there at defensive tackle, rushing the passer. I don't remember if he got double-digit sacks this year. He played very, very well this season, though. Didn't quite get the headlines that Will Anderson or I forget the other one who was in the running there, Rookie of the Year. Jalen Carter with the Philadelphia Eagles. He got second this year. So didn't quite get the headlines of those guys. Played very well this year, though. So, I mean, wasn't a terrible pick. Rookie of the Year for defensive Rookie of the Year. About the biggest crapshoot that you can find of the rookie awards. Really just the awards in general outside of like comeback player of the year. So yeah, got that one wrong. MVP, Jalen Hurts. I actually said this is the toughest one to predict for me though. And good thing I had that caveat because Jalen Hurts did not have an MVP season. Was dealing with a low-key knee injury throughout the whole year. They weren't very forthcoming on the injury report about it, but he was hobbled all year with a knee injury that I assume he got cleaned up this offseason. So, yeah. And the offense, by the way, with Brian Robinson, he fired, offensive coordinator fired this year. So, yeah, not a year where Jalen Hurts was going to win the MVP. That would be Lamar Jackson in the Todd Monken offense won the MVP this year. Number one seed in the AFC, obviously. Defensive player of the year, I had Micah Parsons. Close on this one. I was close. I think Micah Parsons ended up finishing third, fourth. He was up there. He had a really hell of a season. Really, really solid season. And honestly, when we get to way too early predictions or recklessly early predictions in May this year, probably just going to pick Micah Parsons again. Because one of these years, he's going to win one. It was Myles Garrett this past season who won it. Honestly, with Mike Zimmer coming in, I think... Who's coming back? Trevon Diggs coming back, played really, really well, and the defense was qualitatively, everything you could say different when Trevon Diggs went out with that ACL. You're going to have him back. You're going to have Micah Parsons there. You're going to have a better defensive coordinator. I believe in Mike Zimmer. Again, I'm probably going to pick Micah Parsons again for Defensive Player of the Year in 2024, quite frankly. So, yeah, I stand by that pick. Think it was a good one. Going to do it again this season. Comeback Player of the Year. I was wrong. I didn't even pick the trendy pick there in DeMar Hamlin. Didn't even pick him. I picked Russell fucking Wilson. Am I stupid? Am I a simpleton? I guess I just assumed that you pick up some offensive linemen in free agency. You bring in Sean Payton as the head coach. Hey, business is booming for Russell Wilson, I suppose. I guess that's what I thought. Ultimately, Russell Wilson got benched down the stretch of this year and did not finish anywhere close to the comeback player of the year. In fact, he's probably, I don't know about probably, I think there's a really good chance that the Denver Broncos just say, fuck it, just take the cap hit right to the dome and cut Russ Wilson this offseason. I think people are actually kind of expecting that. I don't know if it's going to be a post-June 1 designation so they can kick some of that can down the road for cap reasons, or if they're just going to eat that whole thing this year. Honestly, that's kind of what I would do. I don't think the Broncos are that close to being a playoff team from a roster standpoint. So I think you just eat it this year, kind of go in the tank for one more season, as immoral as that is to say. Hopefully you pick up some good guys in the draft, although I'm looking at you, George Payton. You're on the hot seat right now, baby. I'll tell you what, new regime did not hire you. So watch out, watch your back. He's probably GMing for his job this offseason. And honestly, might get fired after the draft anyway, just because the GM calendar is strange. They've been preparing for this draft since the last draft ended pretty much, so no real reason to fire your GM until after the draft is done. And then once that's basically when the GM league year ends. It's like, I feel like Black Monday is like right after the draft, quite frankly, for most of the maybe not most, but kind of, there's no sense in firing your GM until after the draft. So George Payton might not be safe, quite frankly, when this is all said and done. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what's going on there. Obviously, though, Russell Wilson, not a comeback player of the year. Probably won't be a Denver Bronco after this season. We'll see what happens on that one. Best defense, I had the New York Jets. And honestly, if they had even a semblance of an offense, that probably wouldn't have been a terrible pick, but they didn't. So, still, a really, really good defense. Kept them in most games this year. That's how good they were. Sauce Gardner's a monster. They got stars at every single level. They are a juggernaut of a unit. They just, for God's sake, get Sauce Gardner in that defense, an offense that's worth a damn, man. Bob Saleh, Aaron Rodgers, Nathaniel Hackett, all the Nepo babies brought over from Aaron Rodgers through free agency. Get these boys a workable offense. Even a middle-of-the-road offense would have won enough games in all likelihood for the Jets to get to the playoffs. By God, get them an offense. That's the main thing. I believe the best defense really ended up being the Baltimore Ravens under Mike McDonald. Yeah, they had a monstrous unit throughout this year, which probably should have seen that coming. They're a damn good one. Best offense, you guys are gonna love this one. I had the Kansas City Chiefs as the best offense. Famously, throughout the season, the Kansas City Chiefs were lampooned for having a terrible receiving core and having a bad offense and a great defense, which ultimately the defense is what won them the Super Bowl. I mean, go back and look at the playoff performances for that defense against the offenses they faced. Incredible what the Kansas City defense did this year. Offense did not do them a whole lot of favors, though. So that was a big swing and a miss, high and outside for your boy there, picking the Kansas City Chiefs as the best offense. Trust tree here, a little secret time, as Bert Kreischer likes to say. I might pick him for best offense next year, too. Just saying. Just saying. Don't want to say it too loud, but I have a feeling after free agency in the draft, that offense is going to look drastically different from what it did this past season. I don't think you're going to be seeing a whole lot of the major faces from that receiving core outside of, again, Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice back there for another season next year. I think it's going to be a big-time new-look crew over there with the Kansas City Chiefs. So we'll move on. Conference championship matchups. I had the Chiefs versus the Jets in AFC. Sorry, I'm stupid. My bad. I thought, sue me. I thought the Jets under Aaron Rodgers would be a lot better. Little did I know that would last 4 plays. Sorry. My bad. NFC, I had the 49ers versus Eagles. Hey, at least the Eagles were a playoff team. They lost in the first round, but they were a playoff team. They started the season 10-1, so felt good about that prediction for a while before it all just imploded before our very eyes. Got the 49ers at least, and I got the winners right. So the Super Bowl matchup, I had Chiefs versus 49ers. Cha-ching. That's the one that I felt the best about, obviously. It's the only one that made me look, really smart in this entire recklessly early prediction segment. So I felt good about that. However, I fudged the landing. I took the 49ers to win it all. Really, it was it was an emotional pick. Let's call it what it is. Let's call a spade a spade. It was an emotional pick, man. I want Kyle Shanahan to win a championship so he can get the monkey off his back, man. I feel so bad for everything that's happened. And hell, it happened again in this Super Bowl. Took the Chiefs to overtime. Drove right down the field, didn't go for it on 4th down, got a field goal, and Patrick Mahomes did what Patrick Mahomes has done 7 out of 7 times, trailing in the 4th quarter. You need a touchdown. lo and behold, Patrick Mahomes gets you a touchdown. That's what he does. He's automatic in that situation. Almost had it. Almost had it, 49ers. My money was riding on you. I was feeling good all the way up until the very last second when Mecole Hardman broke my heart and broke the 49ers' hearts too. It is what it is there, man. You win some, you lose some. I will be doing this every year, I think. Recklessly Early Predictions I think it's the best thing I do, quite frankly. I think it's just fun to go back in the time capsule and look at what an absolute dipshit I am. I mean, it's fun times, man. I'm a guy that enjoys Schadenfreude, so it's only fair that I laugh at myself as well. So, yeah, there you have it. I'm stupid. You're probably smarter than me. With that said, though, that's it for unqualified analysis. If you enjoyed, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating so we can grow this bad boy a little bit. If you didn't enjoy it, take that opinion to the grave and tell people you loved it anyways. We love good publicity around here. Good propaganda is what keeps the regime going right now, okay, folks? So, spread it around, sow your wild oats, if you will, to get people to the show. I release an episode once a week when this little off season's going on. It'll be back to twice a week next football season. Don't y'all worry. Every Tuesday, set your calendars to it. We got new episodes here on the channel, unless I'm going on vacation, in which case I might pre-record one. And yeah, you all know what it is there. So yeah, go ahead, subscribe if you want to contact the show. Probably follow me on my social media at Caleb Verzak. You can find that link down in the description. Also, go on over to the email, unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com, if you'd like to go that direction. Yeah, that's also down in the description, so you can find that there as well. With that, thank you so much for tuning in to Unqualified Analysis. As always, I've got no idea what I be talking about. However, one thing that I learned on this week is that there have been 3 6-star generals in the American history. George Washington, John Pershing, U.S. commander during World War I, didn't know that, again, kind of stupid, and Ulysses S. Grant. There have been no other 6-star generals in U.S. history other than those guys right there. So yeah, I'll talk to y'all next week. I'm sure I'm going to turn off this recording and immediately remember something that I forgot and didn't share, in which case it'll be at the beginning of next show. So, yeah, bye.